Welcome to the second episode of the Mindful Psychonaut podcast. So this episode is going to be about mindfulness specifically. I thought it'd be quite good just to give a rundown of what is mindfulness and why it's actually quite beneficial if you have never done it before. So to start off with, mindfulness is essentially just paying attention to the present moment in a non-judgmental way. So that simply just being able to experience, or being able to just experience without distraction. So that comes from anything, whether it's sight or smell or touch, just being able to be mindful and present in the current moment, knowing what is going on inside and outside of yourself. Because I think often we'll be walking down the road, and instead of thinking or experiencing and truly just living that moment of I am walking down the road, I am moving my leg this way, and I am seeing these things, and air is passing by me, or I am passing through the air and I can hear all these things. You might be trapped in thought, you might be thinking about different things. There's so many distractions that we have. It is important to be able to learn this ability to be present in the current moment. And there's a lot of benefits in terms of the research that has been done with mindfulness, but also just kind of a lot of people who have done it do emphasize the effect that it's had on them, just in terms of benefits to focus and awareness, clarity of thought, and like I said, the ability to stay present in the current moment. Has been used in interventions with physical health, targeting kind of pain and substance use and eating disorders. But generally, greater mindfulness allows for reduction in control, or reduction in the efforts to control, change or eliminate internal experience, and also breaks down some literal beliefs that we may have, potentially around the nature of experience. I think when you truly are in a state of mindfulness, that is the only thing that there is. It is just sweeping away all these distractions and just having the raw experience of whether you're sitting in your chair in your room and you're just focusing on your breath, or if you're outside and you're listening to the birds singing, or you're listening to the wind in the trees. Like, it is just being present and focusing on that thing, being able to direct your attention to something, is really key. And I currently use something called the Waking Up app. It's something that I found actually through Joe Rogan. Sam Harris, which some of you may know, is an advocate of mindfulness and has had many years experience in that domain. And this app is free, and essentially has just sessions that you can run through in terms of mindfulness, but also a lot of the theory behind mindfulness and all things kind of in that area, which is really useful, quite interesting for myself. But the main benefit to that app is it has an introductory course. So 27 days, daily sessions, 5 to 10 minutes each, just teaching you how to be mindful, and what the what you're trying to be getting out of the sessions. I think sometimes I've spoken to people about mindfulness and they say, "Oh, I can't do it. I get distracted." But actually, the practice of mindfulness is having that focus, getting distracted, and then realizing that you have been distracted from the thing that you were focusing on. Whatever it is, whether you were thinking about something that you're doing later on in the day, you can think about that. You can actually capture that you got distracted, and then you can kind of let it go. You can realize that you got distracted from this practice that you're doing, whether you're focusing on following your breath. So as you breathe in, you're following your breath, you're thinking of breathing in, just that's all you're focusing on. Sometimes I like to think in my head of just saying the word in as I breathe in, and then as soon as I start breathing out, I'm saying the word out in my head. And if you can get distracted from that, it's not that you've done it wrong or you're bad at mindfulness. It's the ability to capture that and then move on and come back to that attention or focus point, which might be the breath or a sound or a sight, whatever it is. It's the ability to return to that focal point is mindfulness, because that practice of having a focus point, getting distracted and realizing that's happened and coming back to it can be applied in so many settings. So yeah, and that introductory course is very useful just in terms of daily practice. It's not very long, but the benefits that you can get from just having I try to do 10 minutes a day, sometimes 20 minutes. It can kind of fly by, but it definitely is quite refreshing. And I definitely notice that I am more mindful throughout my day, even without, say, the direct practice. Definitely have a greater applicability across all domains of my day-to-day life. I'm just a bit more mindful, or if I've got something I need to do, I am mindful of when I am distracted from that thing, and I can pull myself back to where I need to be. And yeah, the principle of practicing mindfulness is just to become more aware and less distracted, and being aware of when you are distracted. There are other apps that you can use. I know there's Headspace, but the Waking Up app has been very useful for me. So if you are interested in mindfulness, then do give it a try and let me know how that is, because it is just, yeah, I think it's allowed me to work through experiences that may be negative, that may be stressful. I think on a personal level, I have hearing loss, and I guess coming to terms with that has been just this thing that I've had throughout my life. But as it's gotten slightly worse. I've got tinnitus, or tinnitus, which is ringing in the ear, and it's constant. And practicing mindfulness has allowed me to, I guess, be accepting of the experience that I have. It's like, yeah, this is something that is happening. This is part of my experience. It's not like I see the things that I see. I think the things that I think, and actually I'm now hearing this thing which I have let it affect me. At sometimes it has become quite stressful, and I guess it's something that I worry about sometimes, but being mindful of how I feel about it and just practicing mindfulness, being able to experience what I experience in the present moment. Yes, that is part of my experience, but being able to accept that and just kind of move on, even though it's still there, even though it is a bit frustrating. I don't have to be held up on that as much as I would have previously been. So yeah, I think this has helped me move through that, which is good. And how does mindfulness work? I think it's quite a difficult thing to determine, because it is your mind at the end of the day, which is a very complicated thing. But generally, just, I guess, being able to react in different ways, being able to almost be aware of those habitual reactions that you may have. If you get into a fight with someone or something happens, and we have these habitual reactions that just happen, whether it's just been something that's happened time and time again, you've learned to react like that. It isn't necessarily the best way to react to things. Sometimes habits are good, sometimes habits are bad, as I'm sure we're all aware. But being able to be mindful of those reactions that you have, the thoughts and the feelings and the emotions that might arise with those actions that you're about to take, you can be mindful of how you feel and how that certain thing in that moment has made you feel, and what you want to do about it. And you can take a step back and realize you can start rethinking it. You can either just not react. I think there's a lot of times where maybe in the past I might have reacted to something, but now I'll just kind of, maybe I'll shrug it off, or I'll just won't react in a potentially negative way. I think there's a lot of, like I said, habitual reactions that people have, but there's no real thought that goes into those actions that they then take until afterwards, and that they may suffer the consequences. And I think mindfulness as well it allows you to experience, to fully experience what you are experiencing. I think especially with mental health and things like depression and anxiety, if you are experiencing those things, sometimes you may try to mask it with something, whether you try to avoid those feelings, whether you're feeling upset or you're thinking about something and you just mask it by having a drink or smoking a joint. Like some things you might try and mask certain feelings and thoughts that you have, because the things that you are experiencing aren't very nice, but you're just kind of delaying the issue until another time, building those bad habits. So to be mindful, to accept the state that you're in, to focus on that experience that you are having, to fully experience sadness, when the loss of a loved one, to fully experience how you feel, and just accept that is really important. I think it's important to be able to feel that the many different moods and emotions that we have, if you try and shy away from them, you I guess you become more susceptible to those feelings. Whereas if you actually embrace those negative feelings and you allow yourself to feel those emotions, I guess you get better at handling that. You allow yourself to have that kind of psychological flexibility, allowing yourself to experience, yes, some pretty good highs, but also some pretty good lows. Well, not very good lows, sorry, but you can experience highs and lows and not, say, react in a way that you might normally do, and just experience kind of life for what it truly is. It is, sometimes things are good, sometimes things are bad, and it is very much the interpretation of the situation you are in that determines kind of how you react. So yeah, I don't have much more to say really. I think there is a mindfulness is very important, and it's probably something I will do for the rest of my life. I think initially it may seem like a chore, just having to practice and constantly, say, failing. I think that's something that demotivates people from the consistent practice. Whenever they do practice, they either do it wrong and they're just stuck in that meditative pose, crossed legs, arms, like kind of stuck in this stereotypical meditative pose, but are completely engulfed by their thoughts, and they're just sat there until the timer runs out of 20 minutes, 30 minutes, which isn't really going to be very useful. Instead, actually being able to be mindful and be able to capture when you have lost focus from whatever it was you were focusing on, whether it's the sensation of you sitting in the seat, sensation of everything being pulled down to the ground, or whether it's you just simply breathing and you are focused on that. It's noticing when you are distracted from that focus point, capturing how you feel. Potentially you might have thought of a previous thing that is burdening you. Maybe you made a mistake, and that is coming into thought as you are doing this mindfulness session. And actually you can capture how you feel. You say, actually, I'm thinking about this because I regret what I did and I don't feel very good, and I feel sadness and I feel tightness in my chest. And you can capture all those things and truly experience it, but then return to that focus point and move on, and not let your normal reaction and those emotions carry on throughout the day. You can move on from that point, which I think has allowed me to live a slightly less stressful life. I think that's been a contributing factor to just feeling better. As the lockdowns did impact me, and just being more on your own, more with your thoughts, it is definitely something important to practice, and just being okay with learning how your mind works, being conscious and aware of things that your brain might trick you into doing. Just learning of these patterns of thought that we go through whenever we see something, or whenever something happens. We have these kind of reactions that we kind of quickly just go to that we've been doing all our life, but if we can become mindful of them and rethink in a slightly different way, it can have some big changes. So apart from that, that's pretty much it. A little bit of a shorter episode today, but I think it would be quite nice just to do some more shorter episodes, more, I guess, concise of a topic, but also have ones where I go on a rant and talk about loads of different things. So hopefully you enjoyed that. This was Mindfulness, and once again I did mention I use the Waking Up app. If you guys want to try that out, then you have that now. And if you do mindfulness and want to let me know what you think of it, what your thoughts are, then do let me know down in the comments below. But apart from that, I'll see you next time.